Well, there we are. Good morning, beloved. Thank you for joining us this morning in Sunday Fellowship. We are with you with, let's see, this is not Curtis today. And, who else we have sit here? By
The
myself.
long lost wife.
Yes. Hope she was not swinging. We've got a we got a topic this morning. We're gonna have a little fun with it. I think we'll probably have a little fun with it. But we're going to be talking about something that is pertinent to who we are in Christ. It has pertinent to who we are in Christ and our identity. But I thought when the Spirit gave that to me a few weeks ago, when you guys heard our dear brother Brian, he mentioned about the swing, and I tried to use it 2-3 weeks ago. And I couldn't. The Father wouldn't release that to me. I tried to use it in my teaching over when I was in Ghana, but it didn't work. And so the Spirit said, not time yet. I said, okay, I left it alone. And about a week ago, I was in the kitchen doing something, and the Spirit said to me, yeah, you know what swingers are, don't you? Oh, man, that is good. So we took off with that. So this morning we're going to talk about living as a swinger. Stop. Now, we'll look at the definitions in a minute, but you need to stop. If you're swinging, you need to stop. It's not who you are. And I put that in. It's false identity. So being a swinger is false identity. You just need to stop. So, since I've got Catherine, I'll just let you read the introduction, baby, and then because I don't have a lot of notes on this because I really plan on having some fun with this today. Fun in the sense it's going to be fun. Funny.
Not serious.
Oh, it's going to be serious, but I'm going to do it with a smile. It's going to be serious. Not quite Curtis serious, but I am going to do it with a smile because it's a serious subject because most of us struggle. And Brian has some very excellent points. Brother Brian, if you're listening, there were some excellent points on that he gave on swinging. And that's what took it off. I saw some things in my mind. Curtis tells me that periodically when I'm teaching, he'll see these things in his mind and the Spirit will give him some things and he'll take off with that. Mm-hmm. And that's how it is when we're listening in the Spirit. Those who have ears to hear what the Spirit is saying, we get a lot out of stuff. I mean, we just get a lot out of stuff. So when he was sharing that, it came to me. I saw some things which I'll get to here in a minute. So, sweetheart, will you just let's look at this verse.
James 1:7, for that person must not suppose that a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways, will receive anything from the Lord.
Now let's pause. Since I don't have a lot of notes, I'm going to pause with that. Now this did not come from our usual King James version. I mean, I even went to your favorite, New American Standard. And I went to the ESV. I mean, I looked at all those translations. But I went to the RSV, and it had, see, this technically, a double-minded man is unstable in all, is verse 8 in all those other translations, King James, New American Standard, ESV. But when I went to the Revised, it put verse 7 and verse 8 together. You know, translators can do that. People get twisted about that, but translators can do that. When they're translating, they can put things together like that. That's because it's all in one text anyway. So anyway, as I read that, I said, that's good. For that person must not suppose that a double-minded man or woman, don't want to leave the women out, unstable in all his or her ways, will receive anything from the Lord. You can't be double-minded. And you'll see what that means when we get to the swing here in a minute. Go ahead, sweetie. Just the last little.
Wow, what a title. Let's get right into the message for today. What does it mean to be a swinger? There are 3 definitions of this word we need to examine. 1, a person who is lively, exciting, and fashionable, a jet setter.
Now, let's talk about that for just a second. A person who is lively, exciting, and fashionable. Usually at the time, years ago, I think, and I couldn't remember exactly what it was in, I think it was in the 1950s or 60s. No, it wasn't in the 50s. Maybe it was in the 50s or 60s when I was researching this. there were people who who of wealth who did a lot of going to parties and a lot of events and dressing up, and they would when air travel took off to the next level of jets, they would be in Paris one day, New York the next day, Monte Carlo the next day, Madrid. They would go all over the world. And so they were called jet setters. You remember that term, jet setters? These were people who were jet setters. Well, these people were also called swingers before they became jet setters. See, before jet setters, it was swinging. They were swinging from one party to the next, going from one country to the next, going from one big event to the next. So they were called swingers. Then when the airline system kicked in, when we had jet travel, then they were called jet setters. They could jet from Paris to London and from London to New York and from New York to L.A. So that's one form of swinging. So if you're that kind of swinger, that's okay. That's okay. If you got that kind of money to spend, praise the Lord, share some with us. We don't take tithes. We don't take tithes and be stealing from the Israelites. God, as a matter of fact, if you read the Bible from the revelation of the mystery, you'll find that all went away when Jesus died on the cross, but that's okay. The next one is, what's the next one, honey?
One who engages freely in sex. One who engages in swapping husbands or wives or partners for sexual pleasure.
Now, that's the one when we hear the word swinger, we get locked into. Deal with sex. Sex and money, people always listen. Sex and money, people listen. But anyway, this one is the swinger that most of us are accustomed to talking about and hearing about. As I was studying this, as I was reading this, they said that how can you tell if your neighbor is a swinger? And they said that the sale of pampas grass, right? Not you, Pete. The sale of pampas grass has gone down because one sign of a family or couple that are swingers, they plant pampas grass around the house. Now, we had pampas grass out here up until last year. We were putting up a red sign saying, "Come on in." But the gardeners that we had working on the flower bed accidentally pulled up the pampas grass. They pulled it up last year. I asked them to pull up the Texas sage, and they pulled up the pampas grass. Well, God was trying to tell us something. You need to get that from in front of your house.
Apparently.
Y'all be monkeying around.
I guess so.
Jenny said they got monkey grass in front of the house, and Curtis looked at it and said, "Why you want to put that out in there?" But anyway, pampas grass was a not pampas, Pete. Pampas. Pampas. You had pampas grass in front of your house, and people would see the pampas grass, and they'd know, hey, we're gonna mark this house. But God had to pull that stuff right up. Even in our ignorance, the Father was at work. He does that. Even in your ignorance, He's at work. So that was the second. That was so they swapped husbands and wives, and that started back in the 1950s. It didn't start in 1950. It became popular in America in the 1950s.
Imagine it's been going on for millennia, but
it's been going on for a while. Yes, it has been. The other cultures have been doing it for a long time. To hit America around the 50s, late 50s, early 60s. I won't go into the detail. Yeah, I won't go into details and all of that. I remember as we were looking it up and studying this phenomenon called swinging. So the last one is really the one we want to discuss. Now, if you're locked into number 2, didn't I tell you? Not number 1, but number 2. If you're doing number 2, you need to stop. Number 1's okay. Number 2 is off limits. Oh, gosh. I shouldn't. Pete, I really enjoy that time of laughter and doing these things because sometimes we really, the message is powerful and it can really go down, go down into your really touch who you are. And so the Bible said laughter is a medicine. Some of us really need some medicine. Because even though we're laughing, as I said, we're going to be looking at this last part here in the second, number 3. But I want to touch, if you profess being a believer and you're into wife and husband swapping or partner swapping, that's not who you are. Homosexuality is not who we are. None of those things. We're not Republicans or Democrats. We're not right or left. We're really not. That's things that are going on in the world, and we'll touch that in a minute because you'll see why the necessity of where we're going is relevant. Necessity is relevant where we're going with this idea. So if you're involved in that, and that's a lot of couples, we find ways. I was in a church at one time, and there was just 2 couples sitting right next to each other. For years, they sit right next to each other. They were friends, family friends. Come to find out, in this huge church, they divorced each other. The one couple divorced each other, this couple divorced each other, and they married the other person's mate. You follow me? That's a legalized way of wife swapping.
It's kind of a done deal. You can't get them back.
I don't know. I'm not going there.
We're not touching it.
And I'm not touching it. I'm just saying, people find ways to justify their flesh. We'll find a way to justify your flesh. Fear, we'll get to that in a second, but fear drives a lot of decisions that we make when it comes to swinging, and we'll get to that in a second. Let's look at number 3. Number 3 is, read number 3, baby.
Where'd you get the definition of this number 3?
Why?
You usually look it up in Webster's or something, so I'm just wondering. Okay, here is the 3rd definition of a swinger. One who lives in his or her flesh in feelings and emotions, living by responding to the world around you.
I got that from the dictionary of Curtis Luckenbill. The Curtis Luckenbill word of the minute.
And Brian.
And Brian. Brian Cuff and Curtis Luckenbill's dictionary on word studies and definitions.
Okay, good.
So, one who lives in his or her flesh in feelings and emotions. I find very few people who do not live in feelings. And I'm not saying you don't have feelings and emotions. I'm just saying every time you see them, they're always in their flesh. They're always operating by how they feel, what somebody said to them, what they said. It's always, if you want to find a good thing in that, look at politics. Look at the foolishness that's in politics. Mm-hmm. Look at the foolishness that's in politics. Look at the foolishness that's in religion. They're the same. They're in the same boat, just one end of the same boat. They both operate by fear. Look at the prejudice and the bias in religion. Look at the prejudice and bias in politics. Mm-hmm. You talk to somebody, and you say something, and they say, "You must be a liberal." Why do I have to be the liberal? Because I said what I said. Don't you know that's biblical? And usually when I say that, people usually they kind of shut it down because evidently they feel a 2x4 coming. I try not to hit them hard. Just tap them a little bit on the head. Just why we do that? And the same thing. Well, you must be a Calvinist. As Curtis said in his last message last week, a week before, about the main Protestant religions, the Methodists and Baptists. All of those things carry identity with it. All of those are driven by fear. Mm-hmm. And so if you say something, somebody looks and says, "Well, you must be a Calvinist," because John Calvin had those doctrines. Really? Dude, really? Because that fits. Remember, if you don't know who you are based on anything else but confirmation bias and an illusion of explanatory depth, you have to make somebody something so that you can identify with who you are. Mm-hmm. You know, I have to make Curtis a liberal because I'm a conservative. So therefore, if he says anything outside of my little square here, my box and suitcase, he's got to be the opposite. I want to encourage you. There's a secular and Satan worldview. There's the religious, and let me say it clearly. There's the religious and biblical worldview, and then there's the new creation worldview. The first two deal with the outer man. The last one deals with the new creation, or the new man. Okay? So, and it says here, living by responding to the world around you. Again, that's religion. And again, that's politics. As a new creation race believer, we see through things to our Father. So we're not living by what's going on around us. We're living by who we are in union and oneness identity with our Father. But let's get to the swinging part. Now, Jim has my nice little ring up my drawer. Oh, let's read this. I'm not going to read the verse here. I'm going to read the verse after that, Jim. Let's look at this. Here's our diagram of the swing. How you like that, Curtis? Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I want you to know, Curtis, Brian talked about the swing a few weeks ago, but I want to bring it down. There you go. The swing, as we see, has the frame, or what I would call, the swing is a tripartite makeup, right? There's 3 parts. What are the 3 parts? The frame.
That's the body. No, it isn't.
That's the spirit.
That's the spirit.
That's what it's connected to. You have the there we go. Thank you, Jim. There we have the
yellow frame is the spirit.
Right. You have the rope or the chain, which is the what?
Soul.
Right. And the seat.
That's your flesh.
That's your body. That's your flesh. Now, this swing that you're looking at on the monitor there, this swing was designed for something. Was it? You say, well, yeah, it was designed to swing back and forth. Well, yes, true, it is. That's exactly right. That's why it's called a swing. Now, the deal is, if wind blows, you see that one seat up, when there's nothing in that seat, it cannot go as high as it can. As a matter of fact, it only goes so far because the seat determines the direction of the supports, the chains or the ropes. It determines that. The seat blows around in the wind. You see the seat blowing around in the wind and it twists the ropes. Now, as Brian so graciously told us a few weeks ago, the only part of the swing right now in this scenario that you're looking at is the structure or the spirit part. It's stable there. It's stable at the top. It's stable in the structure. So what would make this swing? Let's look at this verse. Paul said in Ephesians 4:14 that they henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro. That's the seat. That's the body. The seat is the body. The seat is the body. That's your body. I want to say it again. The seat is your body. It is connected to your soul mind, which is connected to the spirit. Now look at this. Tossed to and fro and carried about by every wind of doctrine and teaching. Teaching affects the mind moves the body. You're in your feelings and emotions. Guess what you're going to have? You're not going to move like you should. You're going to be doing this, tossed and to and fro, and your body is doing it for you. By the sleight of men and cunning craftiness whereby they lie in wait to deceive. Let's go back to my swing picture, Jim. The swing that you see is in union. I put union at the top of that little thing there. I don't know if you got enough room to bring that down, Jim. Why is that union? Because the seat is connected to the chain or the rope, and the rope is connected to the frame. That's union. They're not one. That's union. Because the seat can move it's connected to the chain, but the seat has its own way of moving. The chains have their own way of moving. So we don't have oneness here, we have union. And in union, you lack identity. Did I say that correct, Curtis? You can correct that. Is that right, brother? Help a brother out.
In union, you lack identity.
It's true. Think about it. Well, yeah, you're right. Oneness brings identity.
I thought
But
the identity was the Son.
no, it is, but that's not where we are. We're in union. Why? When you got a seed and you got an ovum. When the seed goes into the ovum, how many do you have?
One.
There you go. When that seed goes into the ovum, you still have two. You see one swing, but you don't have you have union, but you don't have oneness yet. Because those 23 of the seed and those 23 of the ovum, something has to happen. What is that called, Jenny? What is it called?
It makes a zygote.
Well, before you get to the zygote.
No.
No.
We'll
come
go
on.
with fertilized.
Okay.
It-
We
where
can do
they-
that.
the
We can
two
do that.
pieces of DNA come together.
That's right. That's right. The 23 of the seed and the 23 of the ovum has to come together for 46 because 46 chromosomes makes a new person, not two 23s. So you have union, but you don't have oneness. You have union, but you have two things operating, and all of a sudden, one swallowed up in the other disappears. But you still have to go through a process of conception. You have to go through the process. And that process takes those 23, two pairs of 23, and begins to create 46 pair, 23 pair, not just 23 each.
This says fertilization.
Yeah, fertilization is what I'm looking for. Thank you. Fertilization is the process of taking union and becoming one for a new creation, a new person. So we can go back, Jim, to our image. We can go back to the swing now. We have union here, but we don't have oneness. Everything is connected, but there's no oneness. There's no fulfillment or completeness. The seat's empty. That's why. That's why. It's not one with anything. It's union. The chains are connected to the frame. The chains are connected to the seat. But you know what? The seat and the frame are not one. What's missing? What's missing, Curtis? What'd you patting on?
A person in the seat.
Okay, Jim. Let's go to the next image. There we go. Oneness. What makes us oneness? There it is. When the seat has someone in it, and that someone, as you can notice this picture, this lady is sitting in the seat. She's holding on to the chains, and she's now taken the chains and the seat and the frame and made them what? One. They operate together. The seat and the chains and the frame all operates as one because now there's a person in there. There's a person sitting in the seat. What would you call that? What would you call that?
Oneness.
Oneness. That's correct. Now, who's one? The seat, the chain, the frame, or the person sitting in the seat, the chain, and the frame? It's all one.
The person sitting in the seat.
So who's the person in the seat then? Rhonda said new creation. Sylvia said the Father. Curtis? Curtis? Take a guess, brother. You don't have to worry about being wrong. You can't be wrong.
I would say it's a person.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's the Father.
You wouldn't say it's the Father? Okay. Jenny, what about you, babe?
Depends on what place you're at in the process.
Well, you got him in the seat, so you're past that time now.
So it's a new creation.
So would that be Jesus in the seat, or would that be you in the seat?
It's you in the seat.
Really?
It is.
Would that be Jesus? Okay. Okay. I can't get these guys to bite. They're too smart for me. Jim, I couldn't get them to bite. You're right. Because if that person sitting in that seat is Jesus, then we got the two-person gospel in operation.
Binary vision.
I'm just saying, I'm just backed up a little bit.
Binary vision.
Yeah, binary fusion.
Thank you for that information, sister. Jenny just caught up with us. She's been off in the... Okay. Binary. So right now we have binary fission here.
Fusion.
Fusion, I'm sorry. So,
Fission.
fission.
Okay, binary fission.
So now we have the swing, who is now under the authority and control. The seat is now controlled by someone. Someone is expressing themselves through the seat with the chains. If you notice this woman's hand, you usually, when you're on a swing, everybody's hands goes to what?
The chains.
The chains. What the chains control? It controls and brings into contact the seat and the frame.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on to that. Why you hold on to it? So that all three now have become one through this person. Right? You follow me? So Jim, let's go down to the next little line here. Whether moving or standing still, there is a new identity. And I put the picture here of the lady here below, just kind of just sitting on the swing. Just sitting there. But it's still fulfilling the purpose of the seat. The seat now is fulfilled. The seat now is one with the seat. The arms of the seat, which was the chains, now has arms to control the soul, or the soul mind. So let's go to the next one. Moving in the spirit. Moving in the spirit. Now I like this picture. This picture says a lot. What is that? What do you see in this picture? What do you see in this picture? Joy.
Light.
Light, yeah, true.
Freedom.
You can always look at the monitor, Ron. You guys can look at the monitor if you want to. It's a lot better than the one on the piece of paper here. But what I see in this is someone moving in the spirit. They're moving. You see how her arms are holding the chains? You see how the seat is under her? They are now moving according to who they are. Mm-hmm. They're moving together. They're one. It's one. They're now expressing who they are in the swing. The seat is not moving out from them. The seat is not being tossed to and fro. It is now another person sitting in the seat. I like that. So when stuff happens, your body, your flesh does not have to rule and reign over what's happening. Why? Because that's you, the person sitting. In other words, you expressing yourself in and through the seat, in and through the chains, connected in union and oneness and identity of the frame. Yep, you got it?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions? You guys making it so easy. It's easy.
It's all right.
I noticed that Catherine said lightness, but darkness is also there.
Mm.
So under little circumstances, when we're one,
Mm-hmm.
we're moving in the spirit.
Right. Now, Rhonda said when we're one, we're moving in the spirit. Keep this in mind. The body, in this case, is the seat. So no matter what's happening around the whole swing, the seat is not determining how the swing moves. It's the person that's sitting there that determines how high, how low, stop, sitting, standing. You can stand. You ever see pictures of people standing in the swing seat, standing? It doesn't make a difference in position on the seat. It's that you are expressing yourself through the seat. Standing, sitting, moving, doesn't make a difference. Are you a swinger? Well, if you're just a seat and a chain connected to a frame, you're not in control of the swing. Something's controlling you. The wind takes the seat up and smacks it around. But when you put a person in the seat, it changes the whole dynamics of what's going on around you. We need to see ourselves as the person in the seat. versus seeing ourselves as a swing. Because when you sit in the seat, all the weight that you sit in, when you sit in the seat, the chains, and the frame become one. One to you. You move from union into oneness. And sadly, most of us don't think that way. Sadly, most of us think that we are the swing and that we're moving back and forth and back and forth. That swing does not move unless you move. So whether you're sitting in it thinking, whether you're rocking back and forth in it, or whether you're like this lady here, free and moving along in the thing. And there are times when you'll be like this spiritually. And there'll be times where you're just standing still. But the bottom line is, you don't have to be a swinger in the sense of the flesh, where things move you, where things move the body and the soul, which is apart from you. When you sit in this seat. So that's not Jesus. At first, I was thinking, I said, well, Father, if that's Jesus, then we're talking about the two-person gospel. That's not. No, that's not. You are the new creation. That's who you are as another person. So now you express who you are as the Son through this particular example or analogy. Okay. And let's look at this last one, Jim. We are one with each other. I'll put this one up there. There's two pictures here, but I'm going to look at this one first. You notice those two kids on those swings? They're moving in different directions. Mm-hmm. But they are one with each other. Why? Because they've got the same frame holding both swings. They got the same frame holding both swings. Mm-hmm. They're moving in different directions. But that's okay. That's okay, they're moving in different directions, but they're still swinging. They're still moving through the air together. We are one with each other. I remember going out to the park when I was a kid. We used to have two ways of doing it. We'd have somebody pushing us from the back. You ever had somebody push you to the back? And man, they get you going high. And I mean, you just go high, you what they call pump, you take your feet back and you kick your legs out. And man, that thing just go all the way up. And foolishly, we tried to, I don't know why we used to try to do that.
Go over the top.
We tried to go over the top. We never did. A couple of times people like to fell out. But we tried to go over the top. We tried to flip it around. We didn't realize we couldn't get that much inertia to go over the top. But that's what we wanted to do. I mean, the height of that thing. But who was moving the swing? It wasn't the wind anymore. It was us. Sitting in that seat, whether you're standing or sitting, standing up, you had a good chance of doing it. Because when it goes back, you bend those knees and you just push your legs through that thing. Man, that was so much fun. Foolishness, but fun. Which means you're in the place where you're supposed to be, but you can do dumb things while you're there. You can express some dumb things while you're sitting in the seat or standing in the seat. What do I mean by dumb things? Fear drives how you express yourself through this swing, through your body, through your soul, with your spirit. You can do some dumb things. What do I mean by dumb things? You can make decisions that's not out of who you are. We didn't realize we could not get enough inertia to go over the top, but we wanted to. We wanted to. Technically, we really couldn't do it sitting down for sure. Standing up, you stood a better chance of doing it. Remember, one guy, he got up, he got horizontal to the swing. Really horizontal. He was standing up though, and when he got up there, his feet came off the seat. I mean, he didn't fall that far, but he fell. He caught onto the swing as he was falling, and he got hurt up a little bit. But he didn't do that again. And none of us tried to do it again either. What does that mean? That just means he tried to operate outside of his expression by doing that, trying to take it to where it wasn't meant to go. Couldn't go. Now, if you had somebody pulling you, you probably could do that, pulling you over the top. Get a rope, throw it over the bar. When you get up there, they just snatch you and you go over the top. But the whole idea behind this is if we walk in the Spirit, we won't fulfill the lust of the flesh. What does that mean? When we become one with the frame, one with the chain, one with the seat, we won't fulfill the emptiness of the seat and be tossed to and fro. Now, there's a lot of, I put them on my, Jim, you got my notepad, over, my little note sheet there? Yeah, Sylvia, will you pass me that note sheet, please? I had so much stuff I had written. I had different verses here I had written. I got swinging is very taxing on the body, soul, identity. This is our knowledge of union, oneness, and identity in the outer man. So when you got the swing without anything on it, it's very taxing. You toss to and fro, stuff happens. You cry to God and, Lord, help me, like Peter did. Lord, help me. And Jesus came right in and said, oh, you little faith, why'd you stop coming? Why'd you stop disobeying? Why'd you try to go over the top? But anyway, there was a couple other things here. Swingers have a deep identity crisis. Swingers have a deep identity crisis. When you see yourself as the swing, the body is the seat, the chains is the soul, and the frame is the spirit. When you see yourself apart from that, you have a deep identity crisis because you're looking at what you are apart from the person that God's birthed you to be in Christ. So put yourself in the seat. Express yourself through the seat. Hang on to the chains. And don't try to go over the top. Curtis, you don't have to go over the top, brother. Don't try to go over the top. Be satisfied with where you are.
With the bounds of your habitation.
Yeah, right. God has set the bounds of your habitation. In Acts 17, Paul said, God has set the bounds of your habitation that you might seek after him, that you might feel after him, even though you be not far from any one of you. So, I think that's about, let's do one more. Let's go to this last picture, Jim. This has to do with we are one with each other. I put this one on. I thought it was cute. These two little girls sitting on the same seat with the little rope in between them, and they just kind of hanging. I really thought this kind of like a husband and wife kind of analogy, both being in Christ, both moving at the same time with the same thing. I just thought it was kind of cute. You can make that whatever you want to make it, but for versus the other picture, we saw two people on the swing, which is swinging separately, but they were still swinging. This image leads us into the idea that we are one with each other at the same place at the same time. So, with that said, my gosh, I never finished this early. This is amazing. But so what we're going to do is take a little time to talk to, because I had a lot more verses. I had some verses that would fit some of these things, but then Jim would have to go from verse to verse. So I'm blaming it on Jim. So any comments on this? Somebody sees, Curtis always seeing something, Rhonda's seeing some things. What are you seeing at, Rhonda? Anything you want to add to this?
Well, I want to be sure the chains represented the
Soul.
soul.
Right.
Okay. And what I was thinking about, we are seated.
Mm-hmm. In heavenly, that came to me too.
With
We're
the right
seated
hand.
in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. Correct.
Mhm.
Ephesians chapter 2, I think, verse 8. We're seated with him in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. Yes, I thought about that last
Right
night.
hand at the throne of the scripture.
Those two girls are in the natural state of that swing.
Ah, the two girls. What do you mean? The two girls in the natural state of the swing?
Because motion in a swing is not natural. This natural state of swing is rest.
Okay.
Friction ultimately causes rest if you are not exerting force to
Mhm.
swing. So a swing and all of its oneness and union
Mm-hmm.
is in a natural state of rest.
Without
not
any,
motion.
without motion.
Without motion.
But it was created to have motion.
It was created to be able to move, but
Right,
its natural
right.
state is rest. The extremes of left and right are not natural.
Go back and front.
Back and forth are
Right.
not natural. It's
Right.
natural if given enough time and the person quits struggling,
Mm-hmm.
given enough time, they come to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And that is our ultimate in Christ is rest.
Right. Good word. Good word.
So that motion, we exert that motion
Mm-hmm.
and we struggle to get that motion. But when we see struggling, that becomes a position of rest.
Mm-hmm. That's good. When you mentioned that a minute ago about motion, Jim and I was talking about that. I was looking for a picture, an image, I should say, with someone pushing the swing. And because we see it all the time, we're pushing the swing. And I asked Jim. He said, "Well, Jim said I've got one." So he had a picture of him and his daughter, Beth, where he was pushing her in the swing. And I said, "I saw that. I couldn't find the picture. There was one in there with a lady pushing a baby. I didn't use that image because it wasn't as clear cut as I was looking for. But so I was talking to Jim. I said, I see the person pushing the swing as the Holy Spirit, bringing us to let us know we can move in the Spirit, not rest. But technically, can you be at rest at motion? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, never mind. I can't get anything done. I can't even make a point anymore. I can't even make a point.
But all
What you have is movement without fear. What you have is movement without fear.
That would be
And
external movement, though.
that's true. But
It's
you
in the flesh.
no.
Where the difference is, you can have, I think you can be in motion and be at rest.
Correct.
Because you're moving in the spirit.
That's correct.
So on the other ones where they were swinging, it does not mean they were struggling. They was all one.
Right.
They were moving together. It's when we jump in the flesh and we're doing something.
Correct.
We are trying
That's
to,
good. Yes.
we're trying to make it happen.
Right.
And I, in response to that, sometimes, I think sometimes God moves us.
Correct. That's what I was looking for a picture of somebody pushing the swing. Because the person pushing the swing determines the height, the depth, the width, and the breadth. We discussed that once. We haven't got to that yet. Remember that? Ephesians 4, Ephesians 3. We'll get to that one of these days. The Spirit will bring that back one of these days. But the person pushing determines how high. Not the person in the swing. The person pushing determines how high. But if you trust the person that's pushing, you're at rest and peace because you trust them to take you to where they want you to be. I remember a couple of years ago, my grandkids were here. We went out to the park, and I pushed one. I stepped over and started pushing the other, and one kept saying, "Grandpa, that's higher." And so I pushed her higher, and I pushed this other one. She said, "Not so high." But the Father moves us according to His purpose, His intent, and His plan. Our rest is no longer in being still. What's our rest in? What's our rest? Where's the rest?
In the frame.
In Christ.
In
In
Christ.
Christ, yes.
Our rest is in Christ, in our Father. Not Christ is not our, I'm not saying Christ is our Father, but
No.
He connects us to our Father. So the Father moves us according to His purpose, and when our trust is in Him, our rest is in Him, in who we are to Him, there's no fear. Love, what? Perfect love does what?
Cast out fear.
Cast out fear. So there's no fear in how high we're going. Although, if you don't know that, when you start being moved in a place you don't think you want to go, you'll say, Grandpa, that's too high. You say, Grandpa, that's too high. Or, in this case, Father, I don't know if I can go there. Father, I don't know. Instead of, Father, I trust you. I'm not going to fall. I know you got this. I know you got this. So, yes, and yes, Curtis, that's correct. That's true, brother. I have to side with your wife here. Gotta go with the common sense woman. Anyway, I think we've done enough. I just wanted to kind of have last week was pretty intense. I think the week before Curtis did his, it was pretty intense, and Brian the week before that, and so periodically I like to have these times just kind of what I call a light subject. Paul said, ever learning, but never coming to the knowledge of the truth. That took over my thinking several years ago, many years ago now, because I noticed all I looked for was to have more. Curtis and I had this conversation a few weeks ago. All I looked for was to have more revelation, more revelation, more revelation, more revelation. And pretty soon, you have itching ears. As long as it seems like it's fresh to you, you have itching ears. You got to hear something that's going to stimulate you. And nothing stimulates you cocaine has nothing on fresh revelation. Telling you, cocaine has nothing on fresh revelation. It just does something to you no human substance can, no third dimensional substance can. But if you're not careful, it becomes the issue of having a revelation instead of living as the son. You don't see children going from 18 months to 24 months to 3 years old. They never struggle with growing. They never struggle with the parents. They don't struggle with those kind of things. We do in the flesh. We do. They don't, his parents come and say, oh, look, you're now 3 years old. You may tell them they're 3 years old, but they don't know what that means. You do this, you grab their fingers and say, you're 3. We do stuff like that. The Father doesn't do stuff like that. He doesn't treat us that way. He tells us what we need to know about him so that we can know who we are by him. He tells us who we are to him. He tells us who he is to us. He doesn't do those kind of things. That's revelation. I see so many brethren wanting to have a revelation of Christ, which is, we should. You can't, but it's not the way we think it is. It's really not. It's a lot more simpler than that. You know why? Because it's spiritual. And my Jennyism is this. Can't wrap your mind around it. You just can't. You can't take that which is in the spirit and make it fit in the flesh or the soul mind. You can't. It has to be revealed. Now, you can want that, but I guarantee you this. What the Father said to me years ago, stop seeking the revelation and seek him. Stop seeking the revelation and seek him. Because I did everything I could for months. I was fasting and praying and locking myself in the church with other brethren, just wanting this revelation. And the Spirit said, I was on the altar one night praying, and the Father said to me just plain, you're seeking the revelation. That's an experience.
There must be union and oneness.
Correct. It is. You're seeking the revelation. You're seeking an experience. Seek him, and the revelation will come.
One's union with the revelation, one's oneness with the revelation.
One gives you identity, and the other one doesn't.
This gives you union.
Right. More and more union. Me and Jesus. Seek him. So I began to say, Father, show me Jesus. Father, show me this. Show me this. I didn't know what to say because I was young and new at this. But it happened. David, you are the Son of God. I was afraid of that word. It made me, in my mind, equal with Christ. And I couldn't be. I could see me. See, when you start seeing you after the swing, after the flesh, you don't have those things. It doesn't make sense to you. How can you be equal? Now listen to me. I'm not saying Christ in you as you. That's not my statement. I've repeated that statement from what I heard years ago. But I'm not Christ. I am who is Christ. The issue is who is Christ.
Son of God.
That's who I become. Christ in me makes me someone. Who is that someone? The Son of God living in a body called, in my case, David Kenebrew, or Rhonda Williams, or Sylvia Niergard. That's who we are. The Son of God living in a body, or sitting in a seat, called whatever it's called. So the revelation is seeing that I am this person living another person. I'm another person. I'm a new person, not just new. I am another person to the Father. Living in a body that I always had. And that's necessary. Because you see, all of the fears and stuff in the body, that's what the Father used to bring you to maturity, to conformity, Curtis. Your worst enemy is not the devil. Your worst enemy is the body you're living in. It's the body you're living in. And until you're able to let go or walk away from the body you're living in or the box, sonship will be another word you tacked on to everything else you've added on. Christ in me, Christ as me, all those kind of things. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're there, amen. Praise the Lord. I'm not here to argue with you over your beliefs. I'm not going to do that. I'm not trying to win an argument. I'm not trying to win a debate. I'm not trying to win you over. Because if something in you says, I know there's more of who I am, I just need to know what, then you're hungry. Then you'll hear what the Spirit is saying. Then you'll hear what's being said, and you'll rightly divide that spiritually. And fear will not rule everything you say and do day after day. So, with that in mind, we don't have to walk. We don't have to walk after the flesh. We're going to walk in it because that's the body we have until we get the new one. We're going to walk in it, but we don't have to walk after it. In other words, you'll have a body of sin, but you don't have to have what? A sinning body. Curtis, did you know that? You don't have to have a sinning body. But I can tell you this. If fear rules your thinking, you're not only going to have a body of sin, but you're going to have a sinning body. That doesn't mean you do weird things. It just means that your mind and body will never be one with who you are spiritually. And you're going to do some things that's not in accordance to who you are in Christ. Well, that's it. So, if you're living as a swinger, stop. I should say living as a swing, but I thought I'd just throw it in there just for... Pete, thank you for joining us, brother. Jenny? Oh, Monica and her husband was on. Okay.
There they are. They're back.
Hey, guys. Oh, they're in front of us now.
Yeah. We can wave at the...
Hey. Good to see you guys. Monica and Lopez are back with us. Pete's back with us. I'm telling you, it's pretty good. Curtis said something. I watched I watched a couple of went back and watched a couple of the YouTubes. And Curtis was talking when he was introducing Brian. Curtis made the statement. He said, I've never been a part of something that we can do like this. And we really haven't. This is all new to all of us. This is the next step. We started with a little box, and then the Father opened up something else, and we started broadcasting, and then he opened up something else. Now we're Zooming people from these guys. Pete's over there in Chicago, and he's looking at Monica and Lopez over there in the UK. And if Brian was on there, we'd be looking at him in South Africa. So it's just amazing where he's staying. I'm excited to see where else. Well, I just let it happen because I'm saying I'll be excited, but maybe I won't be.
Trying to flip over the swing set again.
Yeah, I try to fly over the top of the swing. No, I just wait on him because I asked for none of that. I've asked for none of what you see. I've never asked for any of this. Never. We started recording with an audio recorder. Then we went to the little box camera, and Jim and I, and Sylvia and Catherine would be sitting here, just the four of us. Some days Sylvia had to go be one of the kids. Just Catherine went to work once. It would just be Jim and I recording, but we never asked for anything. The next thing, somebody came and said, "I want to sponsor you to have a
the
broadcast. I want to take the message out." Praise the Lord. They paid. They said the Father led us to pay for it. They did it for almost 2 years. But again, the Father doesn't put things before us that we got to go back and make work. So guys, you hear that? The Father does not provide things for you that you got to go back and make it work. He just doesn't do that.
He provides Jim Neergarter to make it work.
Okay, let me say it differently. He provides what we need and who we need. My God shall supply all of your need according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus. Philippians 4 and 15. 4:15, 4:16. But anyway, we didn't apply for any of this. So I'm glad that we are where we are, where he's taking us. And if he sends us over to what happened, Jim? Okay.
South Africa, Britain.
If he sends us to South Africa, to Great Britain, be great. I love to go. Chicago, yep. I already made tentative plans to go to be with Pete one weekend, to do a weekend in Word.
See your grandson,
if
too.
it's just him and I, that's fine. If we go to UK and it's just us and Monica and Lopez, that's fine. If we're sent, we're going to go. We're not looking for numbers. We're looking to be obedient. Pry Curtis out of Texas.
It's not happening.
Well, you have to slow that swing way then.
You guys didn't hear Jenny say we gotta slow that swing way down to get Curtis out of here. But he doesn't know what he signed on for. But that's between him and the Father. I'm not gonna wrestle with you over that kind of stuff. No, I haven't done it in the past. I'm not gonna start now. But when you start telling me the Father said this and God told me that, amen. Go with it. I'm not going to struggle with you, because when it comes, bottom line is, it's not always going smoothly that makes obedience work. It's being obedient that makes obedience work.
So that's not a sign you've been obedient, is when things go smoothly.
No. Right. Right.
Because I think that's what people think. I will be blessed with, whatever, fortune.
Right.
Or whatever.
People tend to believe being blessed is a sign that you've been obedient. If you're going to call it that, then you might not want to read Paul. You don't want to read Paul because Paul's stuff didn't go right. Look at Jesus. What happened to him? I mean, when you're obedient.
That was a plan that went just perfectly.
That's
too.
right. That plan went perfect. And look where it wound up and got him. On the cross. And what about Paul? Beat, lost at sea, chewed up by stuff. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. So when we talk about being obedience, because fear drives our thinking, we believe with all our heart that obedience has to do with things going the way we think they ought to go.
Good outcome, or what we
consider what we consider as a good outcome. Everybody gonna bless. I'm going to the house with the pool and 2-3 cars, and
nobody gets sick.
The ministry takes off, and we got 60,000 people signing in every day. All that kind of stuff. But that's not it. Paul said, "I've learned to be content. I've been instructed." So contentment really comes from going through stuff and maturing, that whatsoever state you're in, you have something that's stabilized. In other words, you're at rest. So when people say to me, "Well, brother, the Lord led me to do that," no offense, but Curtis sit at the table with me and him and I and Jenny and Catherine, He said, well, brother, I really want to come over and join you guys. I said, you better pray about that. Because it might not go the way you think it's going to go. Did I not say that? I know what I said. You need to pray about that because it's not gonna be between me and you. It's gonna be between you and the Father. Because once you tell me the Father said this and God said that, that's between you and Him. I'm gonna say what I say. I'm gonna speak what He's giving me to speak. And if it line up with you, that's okay. If it don't line up with you, I don't struggle with that anymore. I used to do that years and years ago. Brother came to me and said, "Brother, you're teaching over their heads. You're just teaching over their heads." Now I was a speaker. I went to speaking classes. Learn how to talk, and you have to survey your audience. You have to do all those kind of things people tell you to do. There's nothing wrong with that. You follow people that tell you to do this kind of thing. So I went and changed what the Father gave me. I stopped trying to talk it over their heads. I started breaking stuff down so people get it. You get that, Monica Lopez, Pete? I broke it down so people could get it. And after that, it was horrible. After that, I went back and I was praying, and the Father said, "Don't do that again." I said, "Well, Father," He said, "you give them what I give you. What you're doing is you're trying to determine their spirituality." Mm-hmm. See, when you have to break it down according to what you're trying to determine how spiritual or not spiritual they are. He said, "I didn't tell you that's my job." From that day forth, I stopped trying to make things fit what I thought people were. I gave it to him the way He gave it to me. And if it worked out, fine. If it didn't work out, it was still fine. Because I stopped that kind of mess, trying to fix it where, Curtis is a little bit more spiritual than Rhonda. So when I speak to them, I've got to break it down enough for Rhonda to get it and then bring it up to where Curtis is, or take it to Monica and then change it for Lopez, or take it to Pete and change it for Brian. That's not how that works. You speak what the Father gives you to speak, and He does the work. I want to be obedient, so I'm going to be obedient. I'm going to give it the way He gives it to me. That don't mean I don't study some things like Curtis. I used to have 9 pages of notes at one time, 7 pages. Remember all them pages of notes? I don't do that anymore. I leave that to Curtis. He came over and took over that job, so I've let him have it. You can have it, brother. 9 pages of notes. I don't spend all those hours. I still do my research, but I don't spend a lot of time trying to. Good background is good, and it depends on the subject. Like this subject today wasn't all that hot. I mean, in the sense that I need a lot of notes. But I got one coming here in a few weeks. I'm trusting Father on the rapture, I think. We haven't talked about that yet. Have we talked about the rapture yet? Yeah, you guys remember when I talked about the rapture years ago. Years. It's time. Yeah, it's time. We're going to talk about the rapture, or the parasua in the Greek. There's no such thing as the word rapture. It's parasua. But you don't know how many doctrinal ideas denominations have with that whole idea. Mm-hmm. And it's all based on the flesh. It's like being on the right or on the left, being conservative or liberal and all those kind of things. Baptists and Methodists and Catholics, each one of them got their own way. But I can tell you, without the revelation of the mystery, none of it is spiritual. Not a one. Did you say that last week, a couple of weeks ago? When you talking about religion?
And different words.
The graveyard.
The graveyard.
Graveyard theology. Curtis talked about graveyard theology. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we'll be able to go over some of those things with you. It's it's going to be more than one session for sure.
Rapture.
Yeah, I mean, it was just long. Because I start with Israel and the church, and the differences between Israel and the church, the differences between the cross and before the cross, and that. It's not even comprehensive. Even tightening it up is still 2-3 sessions. I did, I think, in 2 weeks there, right? It was 2 weeks.
Maybe it's been years. It's been years.
I went to try to find those notes.
Oh, they're long gone.
I couldn't find them, so I had to start all over. I have to pull a Curtis now. Gotta start all over. Anyway, that's enough.
Everything Curtis is learning is starting all over.
It's good. That's what you call kenosis. Philippians chapter 2. That's
It's all the first time for me.
it's a kenosis. It's an emptying and a filling.
You have to unlearn.
So let you guys where are they at, Jim? I don't want to turn. I guess I could talk to him this way, right?
He's bringing them to the picture where we can see them.
There we go.
There they are.
So, guys, you got anything you want to add to what we talked about here? Anything you want to comment on, Pete or Monica and Lopez? You guys got anything you want to add?
Well, just that
Pete's
you know what
talking. We can't
what
hear
you
him.
what you were
Is the
saying
speaker off again?
about how,
Hang
Just
on,
hit
Pete.
on.
can you hear me?
Yeah, just turn it on. There we go.
Oopsie. Come on, little mama.
No, it's auxiliary, honey.
Oh.
There we go. Now, Pete, go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. You know what? With regards to the swing and how you were saying, you know, you felt, you know, you broke it down in our everyday, you know, for the people so that they would understand, which is not a bad thing. And we go through life, you know, sometimes, and you know, we're trusting him, and we're on that swing, and everything is good. And then we, you know, because of what's going on, we decide and we make a choice, and that's where the friction starts coming in, you know, in our everyday life, and we don't trust. You know, then we want to get over the bar. We want to get all the way around. Well, what happens on that swing if we were able to go all the way around over the top?
I don't know what would happen.
Fall
out?
I would think you could fall off, get really hurt, but we don't see that when we're on there, when we're pulling the strings and we're kicking, we don't see that. But when we trust Father, we have that even back and forth, and then sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have, you know, we go through the harder times, but we know when we're walking in the Spirit that there's a knowing there that we're going to be okay.
Right.
And I, you know, I think our fears push us to go out. You know, I want to take over this, and that's where we really see that's where we really run into the issues where we have the problems then.
One of the things when somebody's pushing us, we can actually leave our legs straight out. But you know something, when
Right.
you go back, you have a tendency to draw your legs back, and then even though they're pushing you, that's us trying to help. That's us trying to help the Father along the way.
Right.
We're going to add a little bit to it. He said, "No, that's a little too much. I got this. Just keep your legs out. I can take care of this." Yeah, that's right. Watch out for the gravel. Monica, you and Lopez got anything you want to add? Oh, I better turn. I'm on this way. Yeah, I can see now. Or can they hear?
I can't hear them.
What
There we go.
that you always find rest, even though you get the swing and you have faith that you're going to come back and find your rest when the swing has finally come to a standstill.
Oh.
You know that you have Christ to rest on. So I think Peter was saying as well that, you know, as you thrust forward and you trying to stand up and trying to get as much swing as you can, and as well as trying to go around all the way, which might actually hurt yourself in the end, because I cannot imagine if the rope is tied up there and you try to go around, you probably really just try and, you know, kind of get tangled up on the swing itself, and which can have some very bad results, can be very disastrous. So I think I think for me it's understanding that in as much as we try and get the swing of life and move about and having that faith, but we always have that core which we understand that there is a point at which we'll have to come to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that if you have that stronghold and you know that the Lord is there, because sometimes, I mean, our journey to South Africa now, I couldn't even start talking about it right now. There is so much I could write the Bible about it. At some point, I hope to share some, but
Good.
all what became truthful for us now is the fact that the Lord can actually place you in a place where He wants you to be at that particular time. No matter whatever you do, you can draw a line and say, I want to walk between this point A and point B and plan everything else. The ultimatum steps for you to actually accomplish that line, it's not in your control. The Lord is the one who can take you from that point and put you where He wants you to be exactly at the time when He has decided about it. Because we had so much fun, but we had so much surprises as well, and so much revelation of how the Lord works that you can really prepare everything, but you can get a big disappointment as well if you don't trust the Lord.
That's what I like what you said about that. Trusting Him is a lot more difficult sometimes than we actually think because of fear. Remember,
Yeah.
fear, and believe it or not, I was telling a brother when we were in Ghana, we were talking about some of the things he was going through, and I said, well, brother, that sounds like fear. He said, really? And so I explained to him kind of like what you were saying about, I'm using your analogy about drawing the line, going from one place to the next.
Yes.
The problem is the fear that we're not going to get there, the fear that we won't do things to help us get there. And the problem really is not fear. I mean, fear is the thing we see. But you know what the issue is? You know what the real issue is?
I think it's the unknown.
Well, that drives fear. Yes, the unknown has a consequence, that which is fear. You know what the real issue is? The real issue is, Control. Jenny said control. That's another fear issue. So when we're talking about fear, we're talking about control, we're talking about the unknown. But what's the real issue? Love, not faith, love. There is no fear in love. Perfect love, mature love, complete love cast out fear. So going from point A to point B, if you're not moving in love, where it doesn't have to go straight, it can go sideways, it can go back 2 steps and forward 3 steps. Love gives us the rest that is in our Father. We become at that moment what is called, we haven't taught on that in a while. You and I did that last year, maybe a year and a half ago, the new creation see-through. We see through things not to Christ in us, we see through things to our Father who birthed us. Because that's where our love is, that's where our rest is, that's where our trust is. So it's not the unknown. I don't need to know where I'm going if He says go, like He told Abraham, go into a land that I will show you. Abraham just said, well, Lord, hang on a minute, Lord, how far you want me to travel? Hold on, God. He said, go to a place that I will send you. So we need not to have, it's okay to have the lines in the sand, but what we need is a love affair that allows us to move in obedience and trust our Father, seeing through whatever we face to Him. That's what Paul meant about content. Whatsoever state we're in, we've been instructed by who? The Father, to be content. Control is another way of us being in fear, a lack of control or being in control. If I'm not in control, who is? The devil? No. If you're a devil fighter, bless you. Years ago, years ago, I was at that time where I could rebuke me some demons right away. I mean, I'm loose here, devil. Come out of him, And the Father said to me, and this is, I'm giving you these things that's so simple when you hear it. But He said to me, you spend a lot of time rebuking. You spend a lot of time binding. He said, why don't you spend more time loosing the life that's in you versus binding the spirits outside of you? I stopped from that day. Now, I don't mean I don't bind if I hear bind, but I don't stop binding. I don't bind anymore. I loose. Father, I loose the life you give me as your son in this situation. I loose the life of Christ. I loose the healing, whatever it is. So we spend more time binding because if we don't bind, we don't feel like we're in control, and whatever's going on, that's controlling. It's not. We got all the control of God within us by who we are in Christ Jesus. All of it. So as my dear brother Pete would say, Father is in control. How is he in control? When he's in you and you realize that it's not out of his control. And that comes from a love. That comes from the love affair. Oh, really? No. You didn't. I saw the sign up. Oh, okay. No, guys, we got to go. We got to go. If you want to hang, we can hang a couple of minutes. Jim's got to shut it down. And then you're not going to disappear, but we're going to stop broadcasting. I thought we were done broadcasting.
Yeah, but thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, of
Thanks.
of the broadcast. Is it something which is not going to be recorded? That's what I want to return.
We're going back on the pier.
Okay, babe.
Okay.
All right.